I see red, orange, not green. This is worrisome. Let me check Facebook. Good morning, guys. I'm not sure if this is actually going out right now. It looks like my signal. Okay, now it just went green a little bit. I'm not sure how strong my signal is. I'm going to attempt to do the Taurus Tarotscope for the month of August, but I want to make sure that this is actually making it out there. Well, it looks like I have viewers, so... Okay, hey Teresa Barker, hey Kimberly and Purvis. Okay, good morning, guys. So this is your Taurus forecast for August. It's a good signal? Great, thank you, Lisa. So this is for all Taurians that have either Taurus sun sign, rising, or moon. You might want to check this. You can certainly cross-watch your other signs if you know what your rising and moon are. It'll give you a better idea of what you could be experiencing if August is going to be a great month or, more of a challenging month. For those of you that are, in love with the Taurus, and certainly Tauruses can be extremely lovable, you may want to crotch watch. Excuse me. Stumbling over my own tongue first thing in the morning. You might want to cross watch this video and get a better idea of what your Taurian might be up to this month or what they might be experiencing. These are broad spectrum readings for a lot of people, right? So you can take what you want and leave the rest. Nothing is set in stone. It is just sort of like the intention is for the greater message for the majority of the Taurians that will tune in and watch this, if that makes sense. So we're just going to get started and see what's going on. I also am pulling an extra card this month for the Lionsgate for August 8th. There will be a Divine Door deck card that I will pull, just asking sort of with the intention of asking what sort of doors are opening or closing during the Lionsgate for my Taurians. Where do we need to focus or be aware of in the month of August? And just for those of you that might have fire signs or be cross-watching for fire, all of the fire signs were done yesterday. Today I will do all of the earth signs, and tomorrow will be, I believe, air and then water. That's the order that it will go. Alright, so let's see what's going on with my sexy bulls. I said bulls, people. Bulls. Alright. I am going to turn down the... hey, good morning, Jen Cicero. How are you? Hey, Catherine Berzecki. I am going to put down the chat box just so that I can watch what I'm doing and pay attention to the reading versus your guys' comments. I will open up the window again at the end of the reading so I can answer any questions you may have if you are interested in asking a question at the end. But right now I'm going to focus just on the cards, okay? So if you guys say anything, it's not that I'm ignoring you, it's just that I want to pay attention to what I'm seeing and feeling in the cards. Alright, so I'm going to just put that down. Okay. What does Taurus need to know for August? So this first card is your sort of central focus card, like kind of where you're going to be vibing at most of the month of August. You'll go in and out of this card. It won't necessarily be a permanent thing throughout the entire month, but it gives me insight into kind of where you guys are operating at, what you guys are sort of looking at, what you're sort of dealing with, and kind of what you could potentially be creating for the future. So the card that you guys get is the Nine of Swords. This is technically sort of like the nightmare card, right? Not the best card to have. I don't know if my Taurians are walking into the month of August with a little bit on their plate, a little bit of worry. Swords being the element of air, and that's sort of the antithesis to me of what Taurians are about. You guys are the element of earth. Excuse me, I need a sip of coffee. You guys tend to want to be more methodical, grounded, practical. Air is intelligent, right? And it moves quickly, but it can also be troublesome It can be a hard energy to manage for a Taurian. I think that's just my feeling, especially with this 9 here. The one thing about 9s, though, to me is it sort of it sort of speaks to this idea of personal completion, right? So the focus for my Taurians this month might be putting like bad thoughts away, completing cycles of maybe anxieties or fears that have been running in Taurus's space for a little while, right? What is not serving us, and the sort of letting go of that. So there is a benefit to this card. It's not necessarily a bad card. What it is it's just like we might have to face some of the things that we've been maybe running from, not wanting to deal with, avoid, looking at the more like sort of fear-based thoughts or anxiety-ridden thoughts that might be happening. Because I kind of feel like like when I'm thinking about Taurus as an energy or as a sign, generally you guys are really grounded and practical. You don't really get too caught up in the drama. I mean, you certainly don't want to piss a Taurus off, don't get me wrong. Y'all can get up in the drama if you need to, but to me it's sort of like this is maybe something that I feel, when I'm looking at this card, it feels like this might have been something that you've been maybe putting off or not dealing with, kind of avoiding, maybe taking an easier, softer route. And this month, August, is going to be the month that we're going to really have to look at it. We're going to have to look at it so much so, or that it's going to be so much at the forefront that it's hopefully going to bring about a completion or a change in this department through our having to sort of face it head on. The reason why I say that is when I look at this card, she's sort of also pointing out into the future, right? To me, this always represents sort of moving on into the future months or the rest of the year. This could be something as simple as, dealing with the stresses of the pandemic, right? And not really knowing, not really having that sort of awareness of what could be happening in the months to come. I mean, that could be that could be a very simple explanation for this card for most of my Taurians, is that you guys are just dealing with your sort of fears and worries around, shit, I like things to be a little bit more easy, a little bit more planned out, and I don't really know where this is going. But this could also be very specific to, say, relationships, jobs, anything going on in your life that has been maybe troubling you, that you've been avoiding and not really wanting to look at. August is the month to look at it, let's just say that. But I also think that this being a 9 says to me that the good thing about looking at it is that we get to kind of stop running from it, or stop allowing it to sort of plague us in some ways, right? And the one thing I do want to say when I'm looking at this card is my Taurus is, you all know when you're not doing what you need to do, if that makes sense, right? You know when you're maybe procrastinating, you know when you're not, like when you're avoiding or you're being stubborn. You're well aware, right? It's not that it's some sort of hidden or secret thing. To me, when I look at this card, it feels like something that my Taurians kind of know needs to be addressed. You have for some time, and now August might be the month that is ideal for addressing it, because it sort of feels, this being the 9 of Swords, it's going to be bigger than maybe it originally was when we started to avoid it, or it's going to be undeniable, and we're going to have to face it throughout the month. So just be prepared for that, but also think about the fact that when facing it, it gives you the opportunity to free yourself from it. Remember, the 9 of Swords is also about nightmares, right? Or fears, worries, doubts. These things are all sort of fake in their presentation. They can feel real and palpable, right? But they're not necessarily, right? They're just sort of, worries about the future or whatever it may be for my Taurians. Remember that these things can be sort of dealt with, looked at, and shifted, is kind of the feeling that I'm getting from this card, and that's going to be your focus. It may not be a fun month with this as the center. I mean, I'm not going to say that you're not going to have fun in August, but I'm going to say that it might be a little bit of a challenging month for you guys. So the next card is the Foundation card. This card is sort of like what opened the door for everything to be the way that it is. It's a card from the past that everything is built upon. It's also this card that sort of holds everything in place, or is the driving factor sometimes. So this is the Chariot. So the Chariot is Cancerian energy as a rule, and it's major arcana. So to me, this feels like, I almost feel like my Taurus, as slow and earthly as your energy is, and I think that when you guys are driven and you're dedicated, you can get a lot done through, hard work, perseverance, that sort of thing. Chariot, to me, it being a major arcana card speaks to this idea that there were plans put in place, is sort of the feeling that I'm getting. Maybe these plans were at the end of 2019 or the beginning of 2020, but I feel like there were certain plans that we were working towards and we were moving towards at a very quick pace. That's sort of the energy of the Chariot. These were opportunities, things that we thought that would be better. There's a sort of a celebratory nature to the Chariot to me that makes me think that whatever we might have had in our plans, we've maybe been derailed from them in the last few months, and this could be pandemic stuff too, but this is maybe what we're feeling with this Nine of Swords, is how do I get back on that plan? Because I feel like this Chariot is a very strong card that's still pushing us to move forward, pushing us to, if it's changes that need to be made, if it's even if it's this Chariot's energy that's pushing us towards looking at whatever the fears and self-doubts that we carry, the worries that we carry that are blocking us or holding us back, I feel like the Chariot is moving swiftly in one direction, where this woman is sort of holding off, kind of avoiding the other direction. Do you see how they're sort of clashing at one another? So to me, it feels a little bit like energies sort of, even though she feels as though she's pointed towards the future, to me, the Chariot speaks to this idea of having goals, rather large goals for that matter, this being a major arcana card, that we were starting to see the wheels set in motion. We were starting to move towards. And this could be goals, you guys have to apply this where it fits in your life, but this could be goals around career, love, this could be goals of any kind, right? But this Chariot energy speaks to the idea of putting the plan in place, starting to move the wheels forward. They started to move forward, and then something stopped it, is the feeling that I'm getting, especially with that Nine of Swords. That something might be us, right? That something might be us being too caught up in looking at the outside world, or what's going on in the outside world, and the unknown, and the fear and the worry of all of that. And that doesn't necessarily serve Taurus's manifestational abilities, right? You all are known for being grounded, capable, productive people that can kind of create what it is that you want. Right now with this Nine of Swords in the center, it's like the creation factor is hard, I feel like, or getting things accomplished might be a little bit harder for you guys than normal. And the Chariot is still underneath there, right? Kind of pushing things along, or still, the desire is still there, even though it's something that we maybe might feel like we've lost or aren't able to produce right now with this Nine of Swords in our center. Does that make sense? So that's where they feel like they're in conflict to me. But I feel like the Chariot will continue to compel my Taurians to kind of do the work, face the fears or the worries, the self-doubt, any sort of resistance that's coming in from the outside world. This being the Nine of Swords, though, speaks to me that there is a fair amount of whatever it is that's on your plate right now that you're having to address in the month of August. Now, the next card is the Spirit of Soul card. This tells me a bit about what the Spirit is up to, or what it's working on, and what it wants you to focus on. So this is the Four of Swords. Hold on one second, I need more coffee. To me, the Four of Swords is actually like an okay card, in the sense that I feel like fours represent stability, and this would be stability of the mind. And so this being in the soul space speaks to this idea that I almost like, from a very practical, like easy read, we've got this nine in the center, right, which is all of these swords in, in worry, fear, self-doubt, all of that, and coming to that completion. It's almost like the Spirit saying, no, like drop some of those swords, like drop about half of your swords there, guys, and just relax, stabilize, get into your thoughts, and clear away the excess, the stuff that we don't need, the fear, the worry, whatever. To me, this Four of Swords feels far more stable than the Nine of Swords that we're sort of running on in the month of August. Our Spirit wants us to kind of reconnect to our mind in a much clearer way. I do think that these four swords that are going in the four different directions always make me feel a little bit sort of like off and on of an idea, or back and forth with an idea. There might be a decision here that could be rather important. And the reason why I say that is, as I'm looking at this Four of Swords, those Four of Swords going back and forth, coupled with that Chariot down below, speak to this idea of, do we give up on the thing that we were doing a few months ago, or do we try and continue on, and if so, how? Does that make sense, guys? I hope that makes sense, because when I'm looking at the Four of Swords, I feel like there's a fork in the road with the Chariot too. Like there's a decision to be made. That decision could be something as simple as giving up on whatever it was that we thought we were working on, and maybe formulating a new plan. Or it could be a decision of, okay, this is the route I'm going, this is what I'm going to try and do, even if I don't know the way about getting there, and facing that fear that we see present in the Nine of Swords. But I do feel like this Four of Swords brings this sort of mental stability, this ability to sort of, maybe even negate the thoughts and feelings of others, and kind of get more clarity around what it is that we want, or how it is that we think we need to handle this. I think that's really what your soul wants you to focus on, so that you can get back to whatever this endeavor was, or is still. It's just kind of waiting in the wings while you deal with the decision that I see that needs to take place in the Four of Swords, and then also the sort of fear and worry that I see in that Nine. The next two cards are the outside influences. These can be either positive or negative, but they're having an influence on us in the month of August. They can be people, sometimes events, or things more vague like belief systems or energies that are having an effect. So let's see. Well, we have the World card. This is beautiful. The World card signifies sort of endings of chapters and new beginnings, right? It also brings about in my mind, the opportunity for all sort of possibilities being available to us. And when I say that with that idea of that Four of Swords kind of decision that might need to be made from a very stable and clear place this month. Because it feels like with the World coming in, the energy of the World card, there's opportunity available to us if we choose to take it. We may not necessarily know. To me, like the World represents sort of, in some ways, the universe coming in and giving us what we need, but can we control it? Can we, not manipulate it, but maneuver it in a way that feels stable and successful? And we may not be able to with this Nine of Swords in our center, right? We might feel insecure or unable to do that. And that's why our spirit wants us to kind of tone it down, bring in some mental clarity, some stability, and start making these decisions, because with this drive of this Chariot, we will move towards the presence that the abundance that comes from the World. But we also have to be able to see it. And if we can't see it, like to me too, let's slide this over. She's like reaching for this World card, right? She's like reaching out, like she wants this. It's like, this is the dream, right? To me, this is the success, this is the opportunity, all of that is wrapped up in the World, right? But can she get there? Does she believe that she can? At one point in time, yes, indeed, you did. The drive was there, the possibility was there. But right now, I feel like there's a little bit of, we're off track a little bit this month, and we're going to have to face that challenge of getting ourselves back onto that track. The World is going to help us, I think. It's definitely a beneficial energy. It's very positive, but it also kind of comes in and it sort of brings us sort of more of, it's similar to the Wheel of Fortune in that way, that it kind of can bring us a little bit more of sort of what we, at least this is the way I see it, what we've sort of put out there, it also will bring back to us. I do think that the World is a little bit more abundant or giving than the Wheel of Fortune. So the other outside influence is the Seven of Cups. So this is that confusion. I feel like this is that confusion around this decision that needs to be made. This is Cups is the element of water. Seven is just sort of about, making a clear and decisive choice, but it usually brings about this air of confusion to it. There might be a lot of input coming in from the outside too, that my Taurians are kind of processing. This might be the opinions of others, things we're seeing on the news, or just things that are outside that are influencing us, that are also confusing us and making it harder to make these decisions. I do feel like the World card, being highly beneficial, is much stronger than this confusion. But if we choose to sort of focus towards the confusion or the worry of making the right decision, I think that that's going to cause us to turn our back on the energy that we see in this World card, and we maybe don't necessarily reap that benefit. I feel like there's two options coming at us in the month of August. We have, the ability to get really confused and worry, because we're already in that worry of the Nine of Swords, or we have the ability to sort of be carried and allow ourselves the opportunity to kind of drop some of these worries, make a clear decision, and just move. Trust the universe, trust our higher selves, trust our own intuitions, and allow that to kind of carry us as we move forward. It may not be the normal sort of planned out methodical way that my Taurians kind of work towards a goal, but I think that it's going to teach you guys something. It's going to sort of broaden your horizons, and it does have the power and the capacity to sort of get you where you want to be. It just might feel a little bit sort of like outside of your control. And the reason why I say that is because this world is kind of bigger than us, this world energy, and then this chariot energy tends to move quickly. And so sometimes that can also be a little bit daunting, especially when things are sort of unknown going on around us. Does that make sense? So when we're aware of this sort of confusion of the Seven of Cups, it's sort of, what's the right, most practical decision? But are we really in times where practicality works? That's the question that I kind of think is what my Taurians need to work with this month, or look at this month, is your practicality stopping you from moving towards your goal, if that makes sense. All right, so this next card is the potential outcomes for the Taurians. This is not necessarily set in stone. It is just an idea of where most of you might end up by the month's end. If this is a negative card, we can use it as a warning and make choices and changes to affect the outcome. But if this is a positive card, we can take heart in the fact that it is on its way to us, and we can just kind of keep moving and doing what we need to do, and that this will naturally sort of flow towards us. Not the best of cards. Well, you know what? Actually, I don't think in this case this is a bad card. The Ten of Swords usually is sort of like a kind of a betrayal. It's usually a really brutal image that I don't necessarily always like. There's a few cards that are really visceral in their depiction. This one's a little bit softer in this deck, but I will say this. For me, the 10 is totally about completion. It's about completion of cycle. It's about completion of moving on. And so when I look at this 10 of Swords being the outcome for the month, although you may be struggling and going back and forth with your spirit about trying to stabilize your mind and make a clear-cut decision, I think by month's end, with this 10 of Swords energy at the end, some of you might get into so much sort of mental anguish or pain that you just have to finish it. You have to make a decision. You have to cut it to the quick. The decision that you do make will be good, I believe. I feel like this person, this soldier that's laying down, is being tended to sort of nursemaids. Do you see that? And so there is this sort of assistance, help, care that's going on. This could be not necessarily, it doesn't have to be an outside source of care, but to me it's like by month's end with this 10 of Swords, Taurus is aware of what they've put themselves through mentally and is now sort of starting to close that chapter and rebound from that or heal from that and maybe let that go, okay? There could be a bit of wheel spinning going on in the month of August for my Tauruses, which is not your natural state at all. And the reason why I say that is we have this Chariot here, and I feel like that 9 is blocking it from moving. So is the 7, really. Like, to me, I just feel like there is opportunity here with the World card for my Taurus people, but the Seven of Cups speaks to this idea that there's a lot of either options on the table or possibilities, outcomes that maybe frighten the Taurus from making a decision. By month's end with this Ten of Swords, though, I think you are going to, I almost feel like, have to come to a completion because you're just going to be so damn tired of your own worry around it that you're going to have to let it go. You may not make a move or a clear decision until September. I'm not sure, guys, but this is sort of the vibe that I'm getting, especially with all this swords. Like, you guys are way up in your head this month. And so this next card is the Divine Doors. This lets us know what door is opening or closing during the Lion's Gate for the Taurians. Maybe it's the energy of the Lion's Gate too. You know, that sort of fear or worry that maybe we're, you know, if we step through, there's no turning back kind of thing. I do feel like that Lion's Gate is the World card though. But do we step through in confidence or do we step through in fear? That's the thing that kind of, because with that Chariot down below, it's, even though that's from the past, I feel like that energy is still there, sort of driving things, pushing things, compelling things forward. Depending on how we step through towards the world, if we do it in this state of confusion at the Seven of Cups, we might just create more of that, which is not fun. Let's see what door is opening or closing. Okay. Alright, so with this door, the first thing that comes to my mind is, I love that it's red like a bull. Let me sort of bend this card back. I love that it's red. It makes me think of like the bulls, right? It could, who knows, it could be a door of a bull ring. But I love that it has this little window here. To me, this window makes me think, it draws my attention more so. To me, this feels like this is Taurus's way of trying to cheat and see out into the future without having to open the door. And I'm not saying that Tauruses are cheaters, but I think that I'm more attracted, or my attention is more pulled towards this little window. Like, I feel like you guys want to peer out into the future. That's what you're trying to do with this Nine of Swords energy too, is sort of see the outcome before making the decision or the steps towards moving towards the outcome without knowing. Will you guys actually open this door? That's up for debate. We're going to read the back of the card and see what it means. But to me, I feel like this is I also feel like the red color gives me a little bit of that sort of, you know, when there's bullfighting, right? There could be some aggravation or agitation. That's probably not going to be what's said on the back of the card, but to me, the red coloring of this door speaks to that. It also brings me to that idea of the red cape that they use in bullfighting, and how the bull gets angry when he sees the color and he races towards it, right? And so to me, there could be, this also looks like eyes and a little mouth, like my Taurus is sort of screaming out. Do you guys see that, or am I just going crazy? So let's see what the card says. This says intuition, simple, complex words of pain or that heal. You come to know truth by the way that it feels. All right, let's read that one more time. Intuition, simple, complex, words of pain or that heal. You come to know truth by the way that it feels. All right, so what I'm going to say here is there's truth in all of these swords, right? There's truth in trying to get to the truth of our thoughts, trying to understand what's going on, how it feels. We have this Cups energy, right? That's definitely feelings and emotions, and Cancerian energy of the Chariot would be definitely the feels too, right? There was something that we were very excited about and celebratory about, and now we're not so sure. And we're trying to get sure in our mental space. That's where we need to rely on this intuition. And I think that Tauruses can be extremely intuitive, but I think that maybe you guys prefer to have a little bit more of a base plan in effect, or a practical sort of grounded understanding of how you're going to go about it. And I feel like that's not capable in the month of August. You're going to have to, like, I think the message of this is, whatever you're pursuing this month, you're going to need to do it on a certain amount of intuition and faith that the world will carry you, but you have to allow yourself to be carried. You don't want to walk into it with this sort of emotional confusion and disruption. Does that make sense, guys? I hope that makes sense. Try not to be too frustrated with yourselves or those around you, especially if you're feeling a little bit uncomfortable because you can't necessarily easily pave the way of where you're heading through the month of August like you normally do. All right? I feel like this Chariot card is not going to be denied, though. There's so much like pushing underneath all of this. Like, I think it would be more upsetting to you guys if you guys gave up the idea or the dream. Does that make sense? All right, so let me open up the chat. I hope that we held broadcast the whole time. I don't know. Hey, Melinda, how are you? Good morning, Lori Chambers. Hey, Kayla. Hey, Mary Lyman. I said hello to Lisa. At least your social name isn't Ivana Dick, LOL. Seen it this morning on Facebook as a mutual friend suggestion. I was like, no. Okay, whatever, Lisa. So that's your Taurus reading, you guys. Is there any questions for any Taurians that have a question? I think that it's pretty self-explanatory. You guys are going to have to apply where this decision lies and where these worries are in your life. It could be around the quitting or moving of a job or the starting of a business. It could be something, around the starting or the ending of a relationship. Whatever it is, wherever this fits in your life, I want you to look to this idea of where is the worry and the self-doubt, where is the fear, the anxiety. Those are the things that you want to sort of free yourself of, so that you can move towards the things that you originally had planned, maybe at the beginning of the year, say late last year, is kind of the feeling that I'm getting from this Chariot card. All right, you guys, I'm going to sign off for a moment, and I'll be back to do Virgo, and then I will do Capricorn, and that will be your Earth signs for today. Thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Please share this video out. Thank you, Kimberly Ann Purvis. I try and be straight to the point. I hope that it makes sense. And again, like, just as a reminder, this is for a bunch of people that may watch. So if this doesn't feel like it resonates with you, that's completely okay. I don't want you to take anything on that doesn't belong to you. These are like sort of broad spectrum readings for a lot of people. So it doesn't necessarily mean that, you have to, if you don't feel the connection to what I'm saying or these cards, that's okay. Don't create something that's not there. If you're feeling really self-assured and good, this reading may not be for you. Okay. All right. So that is your Taurus reading for the month of August, and I will get into Virgo next. I'm going to sign off and sign back on just in a moment. I'm going to have a little more coffee, get my brain firing, and I will see you guys soon. All right. Have a good day. Bye-bye.